So I think this is the fourth CAGED lesson. And so just for review, CAGED is, I think it's the best way to see the fretboard and kind of understand where things are. It's set up based on the cowboy chords. This lesson's on the A minor shape. And so with CAGED and the way the guitar is set up, it's all movable. So if you think about taking a capo and you're gonna put it here on the 5th fret, and you play that A minor shape, you have a D minor. So today we'll do G minor. It's a pretty comfortable thing up here. So it's the A minor shape, but we're gonna be doing G minor. And if you looked at the last lesson was the C shape. And if you know your relative minor and major, then you already know your A minor shape. So if you already know your C shape and you take a B flat C shape and you know the whole CAGED big chunky pattern, then you already know the A minor shape. The difference is in your mind, you just gotta move the notes around. You know, instead of this being the 6 of B flat, it's the root. So here's the pattern. So again, there's the big chord shape. So that's the first thing to know, is you want to know where that is. Now you can either go from the most minimalist point and work your way up, or you can start with the most notes and then work your way down. So the big chunky pattern, if we just start at the highest note, is this. So you can take some time, you can even just mindlessly get that under your fingers. You know, it's stuff you can do on the couch. You do eventually want to get to the point where you're seeing what intervals you're hitting. But if you're just learning this, just getting that under your fingers is good. So the next layer down from that would be your pentatonic, which if I'm starting at the lowest note here, that's the pentatonic. So you can see how that's all underneath that big shape. Underneath the pentatonic, you have the arpeggios or the triads. If you wanted to chord it, you know, it'd be, this one's kind of fun. It's not really a triad, but that one's fun. Underneath the arpeggios, you just have the octave. And you can see how that it kind of extends if you wanted. And if you were building it up from there, so if you look from the opposite way, yeah, there's your root notes. Here's your arpeggios. Then you have your pentatonic. And then you have the full pattern. So that's why when people are saying you don't need to know CAGED, you just learn triads, I feel like you're missing a piece, because all the triads exist within CAGED. Eventually you want to get to the point where they're all connected. I'll go over that in the next lessons, but what you would want to do is know the adjacent ones. You start with one position down. So if you got your A minor shape here, you want to know that your C minor shape is right there. And then you're back in the A minor shape, and then you can go to your G minor shape. And when I'm playing, I do not think about like, oh, I'm in my A minor shape, or oh, I'm here in my C minor shape. I just see the patterns and where the intervals are. So I think this A minor shape should be the second minor pentatonic shape you learn. You know, everybody tends to already know this one up here, and it's got that, you know, the classic rock and roll, you know, stuff up there. But with this one down here, it gives you a lot of the same stuff And I think it even peaks a little bit better where you can bend into the root. So a lot of people like the diagonal pattern up here. And I think, you know, if you know CAGED, you can understand where to jump off on each of those. You don't have to play the diagonal pattern, but sometimes it's a good starting point. You can have a similar diagonal pattern down here. So if we're playing G and the root is here at the 10th fret on the A string, you're going to start on the 4th, which is going to be, what is that? That's the 8th fret on the E string. So that's a nice diagonal pattern. I feel like, you know, and those diagonal patterns can give you almost a running start to it. Second thing is it's easy to do a lot of the trills, you know, this Stevie Ray thing. So if you have the root here on 10, you go down to the 4th on 10 on the D string. So you're going to that flat 4th there. And then you can do the same thing. I like to do this one a lot, where you're going from the 2nd to the 3rd. So I feel like that pattern is very easy for those. So the third thing, I think this pattern is great for bends. The reason why is just where the notes lay here. You know, you got your root here on the 12th fret on that G string. And so then you have your 2nd here, which you can kind of do the micro blues bend. And then you can do the same micro bends on the 3rd, minor 3rd. So those are really easy to hit. You know, with blue notes, it's not just, sometimes people just get caught up in just being a flat 4 or a flat 5 or sharp 4. But it's really like you can almost think of it as like a blend of an area. So between the 2 to the 3, like, that's all blue stuff. Those are different flavors, so you can kind of spend some time with those micro bends. So that's one bend in this area that's great. The next one is bend in the 4th to the 5th, and it's on the B string, which makes it easy. You know, since you're here too, this is a big blue area. If you want the unison bend, you can grab that down there. Whereas up here in the classic box, you're hitting the root on that one. What this box does is nice, is you haven't even hit the root. So there's still a lot of places to go. As you keep going up this pattern, this minor pattern, you got your 5th there, and then you have your flat 6 here. So you can do another one of those trills if you want. Those half-step trills are always nice. But one thing you can do is you can bend that flat 6 to a flat 7. Which gives it, I feel like that gives it a lot of tension. It's not like one you want to resolve on. So you would build that tension on the 7, and then the best part about this pattern is you go to that flat 7, and that's going to bend to your root. And so it's a nice way to finish your phrase. So I mean, you want to take your time. All those bends are easy to grab with your fingers there, and it ends with that root note there. And then when you're in that pattern, if you understand CAGED in the fretboard, you know that you're back to the pattern we all first learned and love. So it's a great way to connect minor shapes so you're just not stuck in, you know, that minor box. It's a lot of fun. Because I think this one's just as fun. Yeah, so the A minor shape is a fun one. And I think there's that nice little run up you can easily do. And then you got a lot of fun trills, even rhythmically. And then you have, I think it's the best position for bending in the minor scale. Yeah, so get that one under your fingers. The next lessons I'll work on showing you how to connect them.